So what in the world are you supposed to do if you're upside down on your lease? Should you continue working? What happens if you're making less than a company driver? At what point do you start thinking about giving up that truck? So in today's video, I'm going to be answering all these questions for you. Now, if you are an owner operator in this situation, I feel for you. And if you're a company driver thinking of becoming an owner operator one day, listen closely so you never put yourself in this situation. So what is meant by being upside down on your lease? Well, it actually means having negative equity in that truck, which means that you owe more money than that truck is actually worth. Who is in this situation? Well, everybody who purchased a truck in the last 18 months. Those drivers find themselves in a situation where they owe more for the truck than that truck is actually worth. So if in the last 18 months you bought yourself a 2-year-old truck, you are in this situation. You probably owe more than $100,000 on your truck when you can actually buy the exact same truck right now for about $70,000 or $80,000. A lot of the owner operators that came into the market are in this situation. So what in the world are you supposed to do if you're in this situation? I'm sure it's crossed your mind that maybe it's time to give up that truck. But what actually happens when you give up that truck? So let's say you were to give back the finance company those keys. What's going to happen to you? Well, for sure you're going to ruin your credit. But is it that bad if your credit gets ruined, or do you continue to pay the payments that you're paying right now? They might or might not come after you for the balance, because going after somebody is also a very costly process. Now, for them to come after you, they have to make sure that you have something. If you have a home or you have assets under your name, you might want to think twice before you give back those keys, because they will come after you and that home that you live in. But let's say you don't have a home, and let's say you don't have assets. What can actually happen to you? So yes, they will destroy your credit. I hear that. But that's really where it ends. So you will destroy your credit, and then you would repair it within the next 3 or 4 years, and then you'll be back to square one. Now, what actually happens to the lender that gets back this truck? Trust me, the last thing that they want is this asset back. They now have $80,000 or $100,000 asset that's actually worth only $60,000 or $70,000. So when they take this back to the auction, because that's really where it's going to go, or they have, their dealers that are going to buy, and nobody's going to buy this truck at the full $100,000 balance because it's only worth $60,000 or $70,000 right now. Well, the finance company is going to take a hit of $30,000 or $40,000, and they're going to write it off on their books as bad debt. And to you, what's really going to happen to you? I mean, you're going to go back to being a company driver, making 65 cents per mile, which is probably a lot more than what you're making right now because of the market. And you might just end up going into a lease purchase program one day, but that's really it. So it's not the end of the world if you end up destroying your credit. But do you prefer to stay in this vicious cycle that you're making a lot less money than you are as a company driver, and then maybe, just maybe, in the next 30 or 60 days, that truck is gonna break down and you won't be able to afford it, and you'll still be in the same situation that you are right now, only worse, because your credit cards are going to be backed up and you're going to have more debts accumulated, and it's going to be harder for you to climb out of this hole. So the next question that we're going to answer is, should you continue working as an owner operator if you're making less than a company driver? Okay, rule of thumb number one is, whenever you get your paycheck, you see that paycheck and you divide that by the amount of miles that you drove. And if the answer is less than 65 cents per mile, I'm sorry to burst this to you, my friend, but you are making less than a company driver. Okay, now, depending for how much longer are you willing to suffer like this, I'm prepared to have 1 or 2 paychecks less than a company driver, as long as the next 3 or 4 I'm making a lot more than a company driver, and that is the life of an owner operator. But what happens if it's consistent over the next 3 or 4 months that every single paycheck comes out less than a company driver? Well, let me tell you something. You, my friend, have a big decision to make. What kind of fuel consumption is your truck getting? If the answer to that question is less than 7 miles per gallon, you, my friend, should be thinking closer. Question number 3, which is, what happens if tomorrow you have a breakdown and it costs $4,000 or $5,000 to fix it? First of all, do you have the money to fix it? And most of the drivers or owner operators will tell me no. In that case, you're going to have to lean on your credit cards. And now, are you willing to back up your credit cards more than what they're currently backed up at? Okay, so if you have a $20,000 credit card and now you have, 14 is the outstanding balance, are you willing to put another $5,000 repair on that credit card? So that's a really big question that I kind of put owner operators into these scenarios. I want them to think in reality that truck is going to break down. There's going to be an $800 or $900 tow bill. There's going to be a $3,000 or $4,000 invoice in order for you to fix that truck. What are you going to do in this situation? Don't wait for that to happen, because you're going to be in the exact same situation 2 months from today with that $4,000 bill and less in your available balance on your credit card or any of your reserves. So maybe it's time to pick up that phone, or maybe it's time that you stop the losses and stop the bleeding, because I promise you that you're gonna go back to being a company driver. You're gonna make your 65 cents per mile, and you're gonna say, why didn't I do this well before I backed up those credit cards? Another question to ask yourself is, if let's say you are convincing yourself, don't worry, the times are gonna get better. And I truly believe that the times will get better, whether it's in March, April, May of next year, but they are going to get better. Okay, now can you survive another 6 months of this? And the way you test that out is you basically take the average of the last 4 paychecks. So let's say you made $3,000, $4,000, $3,000, $4,000. The average of all that is $3,500. Now, can you survive going for another 4 or 5 months making those paychecks? Okay, and if the answer to that is no, then you should be leaning more towards calling it quits as an owner operator and giving back that finance company those keys. Okay, that finance company, I promise you, nothing's gonna change in their lives. Those account reps that are working for those finance companies, nothing's gonna happen with them. That sales rep that sold you that truck, nothing's gonna happen to him. He's already made his commission. The finance company already made their commission. The insurance broker has made his commission. Everybody's already made their commissions on you. And the only person that is suffering out there is you. Okay, now for those of you guys, that are out there, that are company drivers, that are listening to this video, I read something really, really nice, and I'd love to quote it, that who is smart is somebody who learns from other people's mistakes. Okay, so learn from other people's mistakes, and that's what this channel is all about, is creating awareness. Make sure that if you are purchasing that truck, if you are purchasing that trailer, the people that I see right now that are upside down on their leases are all people that have purchased their trucks and trailers this time last year or the year before that, when the market was really, really, really hot. And now they all find themselves in a situation where they're upside down. In some cases, I've seen owner operators that owe $120,000, $130,000 with their interest on a $60,000 or $70,000 truck. How can one convince himself to continue working when he's upside down by so much? I mean, I understand if you're upside down by $10,000 or $15,000, it doesn't hurt as much. But when you're upside down $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, when you see that truck in a parking lot that you're driving, okay, your balance owing on your truck is $140,000, and you can literally buy it for $80,000 or $90,000, you ask yourself a question: is it worth it? Okay, so make sure that it doesn't happen to you. And the way that you make sure, try not to buy the assets when the market is so hot. So many people were dying to get into the market. So many people, they didn't care to spend on that truck or on that trailer. They really wanted to penetrate the market. The rates were fabulous, $3, $4 a mile, and people came on by the hundreds. And that's exactly what's happening right now with those hundreds of people that came on. They are coming off by the hundreds. So was it really worth it? That's a question to ask yourself. And for those of you out there that are company drivers thinking of becoming owner operators, make sure that you purchase that truck properly, and make sure that you're financing that truck properly. And if you need help with the financing, please guys, fill out the form that I have put in the bottom of this video. Fill out that form to get yourself competitive pricing, both from Canada and the US. I have 0 commissions on this. I don't make a cut. I just want to help you, the audience out there. Okay, the last thing you want to do is use the lender that the dealership recommends. They all get a cut underneath the table for their services. You should be using somebody that is neutral, that has nothing to do with your transaction, that is not getting a cut. Okay, use that link below, because it will go to multiple lenders, and I promise you it's going to, that 15 or 20 seconds for you to fill out that form is going to help you out a lot. The least you can do is just compare prices from one broker to another broker, from one bank or one financial institution to another financial institution, for your own security, for you to sleep good at night, that you're getting the best rate out there when financing your trucks. If you do need to reach out to me, you can reach out to me through these comments or you can send me an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca. If you'd like for me to analyze your situation and help you out and give you some, some advice, you're more than welcome to reach out to me at sponsorships@ettransport.ca. Well, hopefully you learned something from this video. I'm Ronen, Ronen, and I'll catch you in my next video.